Shalom and good day, all. This is Healing29 back again for another indie comic review. And in this indie comic review, I will be reviewing Mark Millar's The Ambassadors, issues 1 and 2. And of course, number 3 will be covered in the next video. So, starting off with first things first, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside with their stories? Sure enough, they do, for which cover 1 gets a 7 out of 10, and also cover 2 also gets a 7 out of 10. I'll now get things prepared to show the internal art of cover 1 and give you its rating as we look around the beginning, middle and end. So as the story begins here, we get some art which is a little bit dark in the desert of sorts, and it's set in Mexico. And we do actually learn within the storyline that there is a member of this new superhero, or the Ambassadors, that actually lives in Mexico too. Alright, as the story fills us in regards to sort of like people's projects around the world to trying to create superheroes, we get a bit of an insight as to some places that have tried and some that have failed. And as we slowly move towards the middle to the end, or around the middle on our way to the end, we catch up with a person known as what was it? Shingdu. And her place, but we also learn that even though she is seen presently here, she is also in prison at the same time. So is that a part of her power or something else? We'll learn later throughout the story. So for the internal art for the first issue, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I'll now move to the second issue, to which we'll get to have a look around the internal art around the beginning, middle and end before we move into the story rating connected to both. So as we move into the second issue, we have a look around the circumstances of the person who will be one of the next ambassadors that will have superpowers. As the story advances, we get to see that he's chosen power revolves around gravity. We also get to see a little bit more happen with the character, as he is also able to fly, but we also learn his parents' reaction. So for the internal art of the second story, or the second issue, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story rating in connection to both. So what I'll do is I'll move to the areas to which both issues have addressed, and I'll give you the story rating of both issues because they had different artists and how it also worked with the story. So the first thing we got covered in the first issue was in the area of time, that is. I think they might need to fix up the letterer for that, because the way the letterer sort of did the lettering, it looked like it said 1886, not 1986, and that's just at the beginning. That's my only smallest criticism. Apart from that, the rest was all right, to which I was able to understand. We also had the morning, we had 1 week later being used, and also Monday morning. That was shared between both issues. Moving into the area of locations, we had Mexico, we had Antarctica. We also had Washington, D.C. come up. South Korea, of course, and its embassy. We also had a prison in South Korea. We also had San Francisco, the White House, Soweto in South Africa. And in the second one, we had Delhi, India, and also Base Central, which falls back to South Korea. The key cast of characters that I managed to grab within the story. We had Pedro Abraham Tomes, to which he looked like an agent of sorts, and he's not the only agent that we do learn about. Then we had Lars, I think it was. We had the main character, but I was unable to get their name properly. We had Bimu Bata, who represents India. We had Chico Blanco, who came towards the end of the second. And we also had the character of Vera Bennett. And she seems to be going around asking questions too. For the overall story rating for the first issue, I gave it a 7 out of 10. For the second issue story rating, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I did actually seem to find it a little bit more enjoyable as this world is building up. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day. And a big thanks to Mark Millar and also to the friends who recommended to check out this particular comic run.